Hey guys, Brian here. Welcome back to the shop. And Bailey, he's here panting. It's hot today. Today is going to be just a story, I guess. Behind me, what you see is possibly one of the best pieces of equipment that's ever been made. It's at least probably the best one that I know of. This is the air compressor that has been in my place of employment for like 60 years probably. Not sure just exactly when it was bought. Anyway, let's start at the beginning. So what we have here is a Champion Pneumatic Machinery Company. This logo on here was a decal I found back in the 90s when I power washed this thing, and I hand painted that back as best I could. I'm not a restoration expert, but yeah, at least it kind of saved the logo that was on there. But this machine has spent 85 years so far supplying air in our shops 6 days a week since the 1950s. And that's a pretty good record. It's never been rebuilt, and it's still got the original electric motor on it. So I don't know what that says about the old stuff and how well it was made, but in this case it must have been pretty good. I'll tell you a story in a minute. Anyway, let's take a closer look. So that's my stenciling, and it does tend to leak a little oil, but hey, 85, it's allowed. The unloader hasn't worked for years. I just leave the belts a little loose and it takes off and spins right on. Got 4 belts on it, which is way more than it needs for a 5-horse motor. I think it turns 450 RPM. It's a Champion model SE30. I don't know if anybody could actually tell from that serial number anything about it, but everyone's always concerned about these air tanks. So there's the date on this one, 8 of 1933. Harrison Brothers out of Dubuque, Iowa, 200 PSI, and it's been set at 175 for as long as I've known. Got the cast brackets around it for the tank, kind of cool. There's the OSHA guard that was fabricated in the 80s sometime, I believe, complete with the cutouts to clear the brace in the building that this machine is set against for the last 55 years. So I'll tell you the story of this machine as best I know it. So if you're bored with stories and don't have interest in mechanical things, you can go on to some other video. But from what I understand from this machine's second owner is that this was used in the Fort Knox building project. It came as government surplus in an auction in the 1950s. So this thing would have been 20 years old already, probably when that happened, I'm gonna guess. So sometime in the early 50s, Joe Burks, who was my first boss at the John Deere store, he bought this machine at the government auction for the John Deere store, which I guess pneumatic tools were just kind of starting to come in vogue probably in the 1950s, at least in shop type environments. And this compressor was put in the interurban, when they got rid of the rail line, interurban transit system, that shop became the John Deere store. So they put this air compressor in there, and it spent I guess 10 years in that building. And when they moved to the building that I've worked in for the last 20 plus years, this machine got moved with it, and it sat there in that shop. It was inside. This compressor has not been outside that I know of. It's spent all its life inside pumping air. It's not real loud because it's not real fast, but they put it inside there, and like for 6 days a week, it's sat there and pumped air. For as long as I've been there, it's done nothing except that. It hasn't had any parts put on it. Just a bunch of 30 weight detergent oil has been run through it. Just standard John Deere torque guard engine oil is what we run in this thing. Nothing special. And some people would say non-detergent oil is what you're supposed to use in it, but apparently the detergent oil hasn't hurt it any. Or maybe it would have lasted 200 years. Anyway, it still pumps air as it is. It's probably not as fast as it once was. Might be a little longer to pump up than what it was 50 years ago. But it'll still make 175 pound air day after day. The reason why it's here now is because we've moved out of that building, and this was going away. They weren't going to put it in the new building, which is kind of a shame. It'd be nice to let it go at least another 15 years, get an even 100 on it. It'd probably be something worth talking about. 100 years on an air compressor, on original parts, might be some kind of record. But in the 90s when I was working there, a guy came through and he had his test equipment, and he put his leads on this electric motor and said that this is a Lincoln electric motor. So Jim Bollinger, you might like this. Anyway, Lincoln Electric, the welder company, made motors too at one time. And this is one of them. Anyway, they put their meters on it and told the boss man this electric motor needs rebuilt. It is going out and probably won't last 6 months. And my boss told him, said there's a lot of things in here going out, but that ain't one of them. And yeah, I guess he was right, because it's still going right now. You hook up electricity, it still works. Like I said, up until last week, it was pumping air. So there it is, Lincoln Motors from the Lincoln Electric Company, Cleveland, Ohio. The same welder outfit that made my Mayflower welder. So they must know a thing or two about electricity. Well, that's all I'm gonna bore you with on this one. Hopefully you found this story interesting. I don't normally get to tell stories about machines because I don't often know the backstory on them, because the people that had them are gone. This machine's first, second, and third owner have all met their demise, unfortunately, and this compressor is still going. So hopefully I'll be able to keep it here till the century mark and still have it working. I mainly use the DeVilbiss I rebuilt because it's a bigger compressor. It has more capacity than this one, but I'm gonna keep this one inside for sentimental reasons. It's a special piece. Not often do you get to see a machine that is put in such a long life and reliable life. So if you know about equipment and you've run much of it, you know it's pretty remarkable. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Hope you found it interesting. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I'll catch y'all later.